Yo, what's up, friends in the room? Everybody good today? Good to see you up in the cheap seats. We're going to talk about y'all later. Brace yourself. What's up, online family? Great to see you. Thanks for worshiping with us today. My name's Nathan. If I hadn't had a chance to meet you yet, I get to serve as one of the pastors here. And listen, I know the phrase. I grew up with the phrase. Your mom probably told you the phrase as well. But I grew up with my mom saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Okay? But let's be honest, we all do. We all do that. Every single day, every moment, we are either consciously or subconsciously making and forming an opinion about someone that we meet based on what they look like. This happened to me last week. I was walking downtown with my daughter, my youngest daughter, and I'm swinging her hand, holding her hand, walking up the sidewalk, and I look up in front of me, and walking towards us on the sidewalk it's a man, and like got disheveled look, dirty, hair's greasy, and big, crazy, wild beard, and he's walking towards us. And so what I do is I take my daughter's hand, and I put it behind my back, and I move her to this side of me, so that as we pass this guy, I am standing between this guy and my daughter. Now, some of you might think that's responsible, right? That's you protecting your daughter. But it hit me this week. If I was in that same position and I looked up and I saw a man in a suit with his hair nice and combed and dressed good, looking good, with a Starbucks cup in his hand, would I have the same motion that I would do with my daughter? I don't know. Just seems like I made a move. I made a decision, a judgment call on something that I'd seen. We do this in so many areas of our life. We do this with money, right? If you ever see somebody that has more money than you, then sometimes we'll just look at them and be like, must be nice to have daddy's money. Like they probably didn't work, so they inherited that. They were just born into the right family. Or we look at someone that is poorer than we are, and we'll make the inference, well, if you worked, you'd have more money. That's your problem, you're lazy. You need to get a job. You need to get a second job. If you worked as hard as I do, then you'd have more money than you do right now. And so like we just make that judgment call. We make the call based on looks. Sometimes we can look at someone that is heavier than we are, and we just say, well, obviously your problem is you lack self-control. Like if you had more self-control, then you wouldn't look like that. Or we look at somebody that looks a lot better than us. They're fit, they're slim, they're muscular, and we look at them and like, man, look at how vain they are. Right? They are just so self-absorbed. I bet they bought that T-shirt with that size down so that their muscles would show. I bet that all they care about is themselves and what they look at them flaunting themselves around like there's some hot stuff, right? We do it with that. We do it with looks in more than one way. I've got an aunt of mine wears a wig. She's born with a condition where she has really, really thin, fine hair, so she wears a wig. And she told me this. She said, she travels a lot with her job, and she said, Nathan, you're not going to believe this. When I wear a blonde wig, when I go onto the airline, people will stand up in the aisle and pick my bag up for me to put it in the overhead compartment. I never have to do anything when I wear my blonde wig. But she said, but when I wear my brown wig, nobody notices. Like I put my own, like I can't even get somebody to help me put my bag. I don't know if like America loves blonde-haired people the best or what, but she's like, it is crazy. That like nobody notices me when I wear this color hair, but when my hair is this color, like everybody wants to serve me, everybody wants to help me, everybody wants to recognize me and notice me. We do this with politics. If you saw somebody walking around with a red MAGA hat on, there's some things that would immediately come to your mind. Could be on both sides of the spectrum. Or on the opposite side, if you're driving down the road and you see somebody driving a Toyota Prius with a coexist sticker on the back, you probably got some thoughts. Like there's some things, good or bad. I know exactly who that is. I know exactly what type of person that is. It even happens in worship. Sometimes we'll have people that are more expressive in their worship, and they'll be singing and have their hands up and just be expressive in it. And some people look at them and be like, they're just showing off, right? They just want to make themselves look holier than everybody else, like they're somehow better than me. And then maybe on the opposite side, you can look around and there'll just be, you ever see people in worship and they're just standing there and not singing at all, just like a straight look in their face, and maybe you glance at their faces like, do you hate Jesus? Like you can't even like sing? Like, I'm not saying you like it. Like you can't even move your mouth. You're just standing there like nobody likes you. And we'll make a judgment. We'll make a judgment on their faith and their relationship with God based on those things. We make it a lot. For me, one of the ones I'm guilty of is technology. If I pick up my phone and I text message you, and when I send the text, there's a bubble on my screen that turns green, I got thoughts about you. I'm like, are we serious right now? What year are we living in? Like, did you make a bunch of poor decisions in your past that's got you to the point where you're using an Android right now? But then if I text some friends and it's a blue bubble, I'm like, my people. Like, they're hip, they're trendy, they know what's going on. Like, they've made good life decisions. Like, they understand. Immediate judgment call, immediate. I'll make an inference just on something that we see. James chapter 1 closes with a challenge from James. It says, I want you to be a hearer of the word and not just a doer. Don't just talk about it, but I want you to be about it. And in James chapter 2, he's going to tell us the first thing that he says that as Christians, man, in his book, that this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to be about. And James is going to open up with this idea in James chapter 2. And he says, let me tell you something that we're not going to do as Christians. We are not going to show favoritism. There's going to be no partiality. Now, if anybody knew a thing or two about favoritism, it would have been James. Because James was the little brother of Jesus. Now, if you want to tell me that Mary and Joseph didn't have a favorite son, you use an Android, don't you? Yeah, you're not the quickest person. If you think that Mary and Joseph looked at James and like, yeah, we love you just like Jesus. We don't have a favorite son. Can you imagine like the favoritism that Jesus would have gotten? How he would have been treated, the opportunities that maybe he would have had, and how bad James would have felt every time he sinned and had a brother that was sinless. Every time he didn't do the right thing, didn't obey, cocked the attitude with mom, and Jesus gives him that side eye. James would have known a little something about favoritism. And so it's amazing that he brings it up and says, even here, something that maybe James would have struggled with all growing up. He says, listen, as followers of Jesus, if you're going to be on Team Jesus, you love and follow Jesus, if you call yourself a Christian, favoritism is what you're going to find outside in the world. Partiality, judging based on the outward appearance, immediate. But here in the church, man, as followers of Jesus, that's not what we're going to do. And so he writes in James chapter 2, if you have your journal, it's going to be on page 10. Or if you have the app, you can open it up. All the notes will be there. The words will be on the big screen. He says this in James chapter 2, verse 1. He says, my brothers. Anytime James says my brothers and sisters, he's talking to the church, talking to Christians. And James is not going to say this to non-Christians. People that don't know Jesus are going to act like they don't know Jesus. Never be surprised about that. But James says if you're a Christian, if you're a brother and sister in the faith, then this is what we're going to do. My brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, into the Jewish synagogue, if a rich person that's dressed really nice comes to church, and then a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and says, here, you sit in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you stand over there or sit down at my feet, have you not then made distinctions amongst yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? James gives a specific example of something that would happen, and I did a little research this week. It still happens in the Jewish synagogue. There were these people that would come to church, especially during the most popular religious days where churches were packed and it was hard to find a seat and everybody wanted to worship. Think like Christmas and Easter, all of these Jewish holidays, the synagogues would be packed. And James says sometimes there would be a rich or a powerful or an influential person that would walk into the door. And as soon as they walked in, the guest services team, they would go crazy. They would drop everything. Oh, hey, come up here and can I get you something to drink? And let me send you down here to the preferred seating with the cushions, and we'll valet your camel outside. However you got here, we'll do that. And we're pulling out all the stops. Can I get you a warm coffee? Can I get you a cold water? Can I fan you off? Can I take your cloak for you? I'll hang it up in the back. Can I get you something to eat? And James says that's how they get treated. But then somebody that's not popular, not rich, maybe somebody that just kind of wandered in off the road that no one's ever seen before, when they come in, the guest services team would then turn around and say, all these seats are reserved. So there might be some room to stand at the back. But you're kind of on your own, man. Thanks for coming, but we're going to focus on there. Now, if something happened like that in our church today, people would be outraged. Like, just imagine if our guest services team saw somebody and they came up and they pulled up in a luxury car. And they stopped and said, hey, sir, like, you just step out right here. And here's your umbrella or here's a cold drink. And what if they escort them to the front? Maybe the front's not the best. A lot of people like to sit in the back. Whatever seat you want to sit in. And we treated him, and if I like dropped what I was doing when they walked into the room and kind of ran everything, I'm push arming some of you, and I'm going to the back to talk to this person that has cut the church a big check, or maybe the mayor of the city walks in, or the police chief or the fire chief. No, come on, let me spend some time with you. Let's hobnob together. Or a person might just come in off the street and don't look as good, don't smell as good, don't dress as well, and the guest services team said, oh, hey, no shade to you guys in the balcony, but can you just go up there and sit in the corner? Not down here where everybody can see you or smell you or look at you, but like kind of in the back. Or I'll tell you what, we got an overflow room in here, and we live stream the service. You could just watch in there and just kind of be by yourself, tucked away. Like if that happened, man, we'd be outraged by that. But that's the world that we live in right now. Like the culture, every part of our culture is essentially pay to play. Every part of our culture says in our world, you get what you pay for. Like if you run a business, you can say that all the time, you get what you pay for. You go to McDonald's and you buy a combo for $8 and you're being served by an individual there, and you get it to the car and like half the stuff's missing. They're like, well, you get what you pay for. We live in that world where we get what you pay for. You know what that means? That means if you got the right money, if you got the right power, if you got the right connections, then you can get anything. It happens, man. Think about the last time you flew on a plane. With the right money and the right loyalty points and the right connections and the right credit card signed up with the right company, you can fly first class. And there's a curtain between first class. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but it separates the elite from the people traveling in steer in the back. And if you're right, that you can do that. But let's just say you don't have that. If you go on the app and you pay a little bit extra money, then you can choose your seat. And you can choose the aisle seat, or you can choose the window seat. And you can choose to sit towards the front of the plane because there's more leg room. But let me tell you something. If you don't have the means, if you don't have the right credit card, if you don't have the right frequent flyer miles, if you're not a repeat customer, if you don't have enough money, and you try to go and buy a ticket, you know where they're going to put you, right? They go put you at the back of the plane, right across from the bathroom, in the dreaded middle seat. Now, I've never believed in purgatory until I flew in the back of the plane in the middle seat. I'm just like, shoot, this might be real. These Catholics might be on to something. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It's not hell, but it's pretty close. But hey, you get what you pay for. If you got money, if you got status, if you're preferred, then you can sit wherever you want. Some things, concerts, sporting events are the same way. The suites that are air conditioned, and it doesn't matter if it's raining or blazing hot, you're going to be fine. All the food's spread out. Those are reserved for the people with money. Those are the seats that as you look up there, those people know somebody. They got connections. They got money. They got status. They're related to somebody that's important. You go to an NBA game, you can sit courtside, and as the players run by, you can stick your hand out. They give you a high five. You got to have some money. You got to know somebody to do that. But people like me and you, we're going to be sitting in the nosebleeds at the very top. Like we're just trying to buy the cheapest ticket as possible. But you get what you pay for. Our entire world lives on that mentality. In the world, you're going to get what you pay. I'll even tell you this. You can't even go to your favorite coffee shop and use the bathroom if you're not a paying customer. There'll be a sign on the door that says, bathroom for customers only. You want to use the bathroom here? You got to spend some money. Hey, what's the Wi-Fi password? Where's your receipt? Did you buy something? Yeah, the Wi-Fi is just for paying customers. In the world, you get what you pay for, but in the church, there's a reason why we don't charge for seats. There's a reason why you didn't have to go on Ticketmaster last night and reserve the seat that you're sitting in today. Because the world says you get what you pay for. The church says you didn't pay for anything. Jesus paid for it all. Everything you have is from Jesus. Like you didn't earn it. You didn't have enough spiritual miles or points on your credit card. You didn't say or do the right thing. You don't have the right pedigree. Everything we have here in the church is a gift from God through his son, Jesus. It's crazy, man. It's the total opposite. So I want to thank you. For those of you that give faithfully week in and week out, let me tell you how the church works. When a first-time guest walks in the door, anybody in here can go and use the bathroom for free. Anybody in here, when you walked in, there was a bottle of water waiting on it. If you want it, you can have it. Now it's room temperature, okay? Don't get crazy. But it's there. You can have it. It doesn't matter. Downstairs, we have kids ministry. You didn't have to pay for it. Who else is watching kids for an hour that you don't have to pay for? Not the business world. We come in, if you're a first-time guest, we'll give you a Bible, we'll give you books, we'll give you mugs, we'll give you a free cup. Not only will I let you use the bathroom here, I'll give you a free cup of coffee on your way in. Because the church is not a business, it's a family. And so James says, hey, we're not like the world where you pay to play. When you walk in these doors, man, Jesus paid it all. And so for those of us that are already in the family, we will pay so that people outside of the family will feel welcome in hopes that one day they'll be a part of the family. It's the only place on earth that does this. James says, man, if favoritism and partiality and pay to play is what the world is doing, we got to do something different. Like the church is different from that. In a business, you get what you pay for. In a family, the family picks up the tab for you, welcomes people from the outside looking in. Man, too many of us in the world are looking for ways that we can benefit from others. Our entire lives have turned into a networking meeting, where it's like, what can I get from you? Will you do business with me? Can I make some money off of these people? I'll choose friends and I'll hang out and I'll join clubs for the benefit of myself. And the church is the only place where you can walk in and say, I don't want anything from you. I just want something for you. And James says, man, we got to keep that. We got to keep that. First thing that I want to challenge you on, you might be thinking, okay, favoritism, like what's the big deal? Why is James so adamant about that? Why is he telling us it's dangerous? If you're taking notes, jot this down. Favoritism is the opposite of discernment. Discernment is a spiritual gift that Scripture tells us that we need to develop in. Favoritism is the opposite of that. Partiality and favoritism is the shortcut. It's the counterfeit of discernment. Instead of really considering a person, getting to know them, knowing their hearts, knowing their motives, knowing what they're all about, favoritism and discernment takes a look at what's on the outside and we immediately make a decision. If there is one thing that is severely lacking in our culture today, it's discernment. Like too few people have discernment. Man, we will believe anything we hear. There's a reason why on your phone, let me tell you, if you got an Android phone, I don't know if this works, but if you're on Team Blue Bubble, I get a call sometimes and they'll show up spam risk. You know why they have to do that? Because people are so gullible to hear and believe everything that they hear. Your email has a spam filter on it because people are so gullible, they think an email from a Nigerian prince that needs somewhere to put his money is real. Why? Because we lack discernment. We will believe everything that we hear. And you can tell it, man. People fall prey to this trap too often. We will get in our tribes. Man, politicians will make a claim about something. There's a war going on overseas, and this side is who's at fault. And then the other side's like, no, this side is who's at fault. And like whatever side you're on, you will just believe anything that anybody says instead of just doing a little bit of research to keep you from acting dumb. Just use a little bit of discernment. Instead, well, no, that's the guy I voted for. And if he says they're the problem, then they're the problem. If he says this is what's really happening on the grounds, then that's what it is. Why check? Why use the gift of discernment? I'm just making an observation on the outside. Why do we do that? Man, just getting deceived, getting tricked. James says, man, don't get fooled by what's going on the outside. Use some discernment. Well, yeah, but Nathan, but if they vote like me and talk like me and act like me and they got the same skin color as me and they do the same things that I do, well, then they're trustworthy. What? Use some discernment, man. It's lacking in the world. Instead of just believing everything that you hear and jumping on board because they meet one outside criteria, instead of doing what God tells us to do, it's like, hey man, like use some discernment on it. Think through that. Really do some research. Get to know people. Get to know what's behind their heart. Maybe I'm telling you this for the first time, but anytime somebody tells you something, there's a motive behind it. There's something in it for them. And if they can get you on board with what they think and what they do, they're going to benefit off of you. But a little discernment says, hey man, what does the Bible say? Man, is this right or wrong? Is it true or false? Or am I just jumping on board because this person talks like me and acts like me and votes like me and has the same skin color as me and spends money like me and lives on the same side of town as me and they're just like me, so they must be just like me? Use some discernment on that. James says, man, don't let favoritism, don't make an observation just based on the outside and allow that to impact what you think. Verse 5, listen, my beloved brothers. Again, hey, Christians, listen. Not people on the outside. They're going to show partiality. They're going to show favoritism. But you, my beloved brothers, has God not chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, which he has promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Are not the rich the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? Are they not the ones who blaspheme the holy name of which you are called? Isn't that what you're seeing? Isn't that what favoritism leads to? James says, number 2, write this down. Favoritism, another reason why it's dangerous, is favoritism focuses on the outside instead of what's on the inside. And so he gives an example with these people that they're dealing with right here. He says, man, sometimes you'll like somebody just based on how much money that they have, but like they don't follow Jesus, they don't love God, they're not moving in the same direction of you, like you've just made an inference. And here James isn't villainizing rich people. Sometimes we say, oh, well, poor people are more noble and are better. No, it's not what he said. That's the same thing. That's showing favoritism towards someone because of a lack of money. James says, don't look at someone because of how little money or how much money they have and make an observation on who they are on the inside. That's what favoritism does. Forget what's on the inside. I'll just make a quick call based on what's on the outside. Our world's obsessed with this, man. Your identity in our culture is caught up really in 3 questions. What you do, how much money you make, and how successful you are. That's really what people care about. They want to make a character assessment of you, whether or not we can be friends, whether or not we're going to roll together. Everything I need to know about you can be based on those 3 things. You answer those 3 questions right, and you will be treated a certain way by most people. Think about it. When we introduce ourselves to people, generally speaking, what is the first question that we will ask? What do you do? What do you do for a living? What are we doing? I want to know how educated you are. I want to know how much money you make. I want to know if I'm below you or above you. Like I'm just sizing you up, man. That's the reason why we ask it. We don't care about where you work. We're trying to make I want to judge you. I want to make an assessment, partiality and favoritism based on those 3 things on the outside. It feels like in 2025, even as adults, we're still living in high school. You know how it was in high school? Everybody fit into neat categories. Right? We got the jocks, the athletes. We got the nerds. We got the rednecks. We got the goth girls. All these kind of different categories that people quickly fall into. Teachers, pets, druggies. And so like everybody gets in there. You dress like that, you act like that, you talk like that. You get into these categories. And James says, yeah, that's weird in high school, but like don't let that come into the church. Don't let it come in as followers of Jesus. James says the church is different. We don't judge people. We don't base our affiliation with people on class or wealth or social, economic, professional, what you have or haven't done in your past, who you voted for, any of that. Anybody that comes into the church doors, the only thing we care about is, hey, do you know Jesus? Now the world is going to say, hey, you're black and you're white, you're rich or you're poor, you're blue collar or you're white collar, you're Republican or you're Democrat. Let me tell you what we believe here at the church. You either know Jesus or you don't. And if you know Jesus, all you care about is getting those that don't know Jesus to know Jesus. That's all we care about. I don't want to cut any corners like, well, I want to talk about this or that. Nah, that's when you walk in this door, I don't care what kind of car you drove. I don't care how old or young you are. I don't care what kind of clothes you got, what you look like or smell like. Everybody that comes in that door either knows Jesus or you don't know Jesus. And just a heads up, if you don't know Jesus, not a hidden agenda, because I'm telling you the agenda right now. We're going to do whatever it takes for those that don't know Jesus to know Jesus. That's all we care about. James says that's the church. Now, it's not like that outside. Like they care about a lot of other things. Anything on the outside and whatever can benefit them. But as followers of Jesus, here's what we care about. You only fit into one of two categories. And that's what we care about. That's what we're willing to stand on. Nothing else that's going to allow us to get in the way, man. Everybody should be welcomed here to hear who Jesus is and have their life changed by him. So here's the question that James is going to pose. Are you really that different? Because the world is pay for your seat, you get what you pay for. If you can benefit me and I think it's great for my life, then I'll be your friend, then I'll do business with you, then I'll associate with you. But if you can't help me, if it's not good for my career, if it's not good for my image, then I don't want to have anything to do with you. The church is the only place that you can come into in culture where it doesn't matter any of that stuff. You're always welcome here. And we're not going to compromise on the truth, but you're always welcomed here. Hear about Jesus, and I hope he changes your life. James says, man, that's what we got to focus on. That's what we got to do. Here's how he closes out the text. If you really fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, then you're doing well. But if you show partiality, you are committing sin and are convicted by the law of transgressors. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it. For he who said, do not commit adultery, also said, do not murder. If you did not commit adultery but do murder, you become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged under the law of liberty. Listen to verse 13. Here's how it closes. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy, but mercy triumphs over judgment. As followers of Jesus, this might be the most dangerous thing about showing partiality and favoritism. It's the third thing I want you to write down. Favoritism makes you forget what's been done for you. When we look at somebody on the outside and we make a judgment, we forgot that Jesus looked at you on the outside and gave you mercy. Jesus did not look at your life as gross and reckless as it was before you met him and said, nope, you got to straighten that up. You don't look like me, you don't act like me, you don't talk like me, you don't vote like me, you're nothing like me. And so I don't want to be associated with you. Christians are some of the people that understand mercy and forgiveness and grace the most because of what Jesus has done for us. And so it would be crazy if the people that understood and embraced mercy the most are the ones that gave it the least. Doesn't make any sense. Not for us. See, favoritism makes it look like that's how God treated us. But it's not. God didn't show favorites. There was no merit involved for us. Like, all of it was a gift from God. The church, the people, are recipients of God's forgiveness through Jesus. So our attitudes and our actions towards other people, that needs to reflect that. Imagine how the world would be different if that was our reputation. If the church was known for giving to people that didn't deserve it, for welcoming people with one message, and that was the message of Jesus. That all of the secondary stuff was just that, secondary, and paled in comparison to the main thing that we cared about. The main thing that we were known for. Mercy, forgiveness, and salvation. Like, I get it, man, I get it. So now's your chance. Don't be a hearer of the word only, but be a doer of the word. James says the ones that really get it will show it. Here's a question I want to leave you with. What's your main thing? It seems like in our world, we become so tribal and so divided over things that we want to be our main thing. Maybe for some people it's political. Maybe for some people it's racial. Maybe for some people it's financial. It's socioeconomics. What's your one thing? The scripture says, if you really fulfill the law, here's the main the thing. You'll love God, but you'll love your neighbor as yourself. And we're not going to compromise on truth. Jesus never did that. James certainly isn't going to do that. But James says, man, we need to make it crystal clear, man. Sometimes our main thing, the message of Jesus, can be sidelined by secondary things. And here's why I've just made a decision as a pastor, man. I don't think it's a pastor thing. I think it's a Christian thing, that I made the decision that if anything was going to cause me to lose influence in the eyes of people so that I couldn't talk about and be about the message of Jesus, then I don't care about that thing anymore. I don't want to be known for that thing. I want to be known for Jesus. I want to be known for categorizing people in one of two categories. You either know Jesus or you don't know Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, then all of us that know Jesus only have one message: get people that don't know Jesus into a relationship with Jesus. Welcome you to the family. Mayor, that's it. That's all I care about. That's all I want to talk about. That's the hill I want to die on. And I get it, man. You'll draw lines, and secondary things and issues can erode your credibility in the eyes of other people. And you got the greatest message in the world, but instead you've decided to declare this message, and now nobody wants to hear this message. Jesus is the only thing that will alter people's eternity. It's the only thing that matters. And you got to check yourself if you get to the point where you would rather talk about something else and think, even if it alienates me from people from hearing the gospel, even if it closes people's ears to hearing who Jesus is, that's fine with me, because I'd rather stand on that. I'm telling you, anytime people drew lines in the sand in the Bible, they found Jesus on the other side. It was just Jesus. That's all Jesus cared about. Just believe. Just believe. That's the message of the church. That's the hope of the world. That's the only issue that's going to stand between us and eternity. Please don't forfeit your credibility in the eyes of the world, hanging your hat on a message that is not Jesus, in him crucified, in him raised, in him being the hope of the world. That's the message that we have. James says, your new mindset is this: I never want to say anything that would make people reject the message or make people feel like they couldn't hear me deliver the message of the gospel. Anything that does that is a distraction. It's a secondary issue. It becomes less significant. A life without partiality says this: I'm a sinner and you're a sinner, and without Jesus, we're both hosed. So we got to know who Jesus is. We got to know the way to God the Father is only through his son Jesus. I'm just one beggar telling another beggar where to find the bread. It's the only thing we care about. Those are the categories that we put people in. And hey, man, if you find yourself in the category of knowing Jesus, I want you to really pray and ask the Lord to eliminate the partiality and the favoritism in your life so that your main message can be the cross of Jesus Christ. And if you don't know Jesus here, we're coming. That's all we care about. You're going to hear about Jesus until you're bored about it. You're either going to leave or you're going to meet him. Either way. That's the message we want to be about. That's the hope that can only be found in the gospel. And James says, be about that. Don't show favoritism. Everybody has the opportunity to hear about Jesus and have their life changed by him. God, would you help us with the favoritism? Yeah, I know I'm guilty of it. I too easily want to gravitate towards people that look like me and act like me and talk like me and vote like me and behave like me and raise their kids like me and live on the same side of town as me. But God, you see every person as an image bearer of God, a person that either knows Jesus and is headed to spend eternity with you, or a person that is far from you, that unless there's an intervention that is had spiritually, then they will spend an eternity apart from you. God, would you break our hearts along those lines and help us to be people that are about the mission and the message that you've called us to and entrusted us with. Pray and ask that in your son Jesus' name. Amen.